Olani Leigh joins us on the show this morning. She is an author, scriptwriter, bestseller, I should say. And she joins us live from Kent in the United Kingdom. You're welcome to the Morning Brief, Olani.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We really wanted to have you last week, but, the connection failed us. But this morning, we're excited to have you join us. And we're just going to get right into it. First, the look. I've seen your pictures, so it's not as though you're concealing your image, right? Or at least your identity as it is. But speak to us about what informed the look. I'm thinking Catwoman, I'm thinking a superhero. But what is this about, Olani?
Well, it's my brand, and that's what I wanted to do. And plus the fact, a lot of my writing that I do, I look at the human psyche. Everybody is wearing a mask in some kind of way. Because the me that talks to the person at work is different to the me that talks to my family. Maybe it's different to maybe the man I meet on the street. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I'm tempted to ask, so what does this mask say about you if everyone's wearing a mask? How does this describe your person or your work, which we'll get into right away, but I'm really intrigued by the mask. And a lot of our viewers are. It was one of the, points that came up last week when we were about to have you.
When I actually started, I said that, I wanted this to be my brand. And a lot of people have asked me, and I said, it just happened. And that's what happened. So in a lot of places that I do go, when I've been to like red carpet events and all of that stuff, I still do wear the mask.
There you go. And obviously it's a seller. People just love it right away. But let's talk about your work. I don't know where to start, but I'll start with my grandfather's inheritance, the fox and the raven. What you're doing is amazing. You're putting African history. You're just, you're weaving brilliant stories together. What is the drive for this? Because you're clearly not in Africa. So is this a need to preserve African stories, the history? Or it's just a means to make money, something comes to you naturally, and like, well, let me make money with this, or it's a collabo, as they say, a mix of both?
For me, it's quite important that our history, our ancestry is preserved, because there are a lot of people who have moved out of Nigeria. Take me, for instance. My father came to study in England. My mother came from America to study in England, and they met. So, my father was from Nigeria. My grandfather on my mother's side was from Nigeria, but my grandmother wasn't. So there were a lot of things that I had to learn about Nigeria and about my heritage. And it's happening that a lot of people are leaving Nigeria and the whole of Africa to different countries, and, they don't know what their history is anymore. And the reason why my grandfather's inheritance came to me was I was listening to the radio one day driving, and this lady, blue-eyed blonde, went to do a blood test, and the results came back, and they told her that, oh, you do realize that you have the sickle cell trait. And she said that they did something wrong. They tested her blood 4 times, and she said that there's no way that there could be black blood in her family. And that's how the story came to be.
So I'm just wondering, have you lived in Africa before?
I've lived in Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria, yeah.
How long have you been here?
I was born here. I was born in the UK.
Okay, so but cumulatively, how many years have you lived in Nigeria? That's what I'm asking, actually.
Oh, let's say around 5 years on and off.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking that question, so your story, is it a reflection of personal experience based on your heritage, or the 5 years of living in Nigeria, so that you can speak based on place of authority, if you posit it correctly?
Well, my stories are based on the fact that I have a fascination with our creation story, i.e. the African creation story that human beings started in Leigh. And that's it. I'm in love with the place. We have a lot of history there. We have a lot of culture there. And if you think about it, a lot of bestsellers that have happened that are outside the white Greek mythology norm has always been based on our Ilefe mythology, and everybody's fascinated by it. So it's something that I'm fascinated about. I am not Ilefe, but I want to bring it to the world.
So for those who are not familiar with this mythology around Ilefe, what is it?
The mythology is that the Yoruba race was created in Ilefe. Olodumare sent one of his sons down to start Ilefe, and that's how the Yoruba tribe spread.
So the big picture, I always look at big pictures, because when you're writing, when you're putting your thoughts together and doing all of these things, I'm sure you have a big picture in your mind. What is the story you're trying to tell the world as an end game?
The story that I'm trying to tell the world is, one, come and have a look at our culture. Two, a lot of our people, especially the men, are in positions of authority. In all of my books, you see men in position of authority. You see me humanizing men and giving people a better picture of, other than what they're reading in social media about Yoruba demons, or this is this, this is that. So, yeah.
So do you feel also the fact that, because I was watching something the other day and I felt like, okay, there has been some form of slavery, one form or the other. There's the human slavery now, Africa is economic slavery. Do you feel that the wealth of the story you're trying to tell has been lost in transition, and that's why you're reliving this story?
That's a very deep question. What I'm trying to do is, in one way or the other, put Nigeria on the map for people to read about it and, have curiosity about it and maybe even want to visit the place.
It's very interesting how you weave these things together yet again, and what you're trying to do. Maybe we'll talk about how well you think even people here are embracing such mythology and selling it, because that's what a lot of countries do. Basically, they sell their mythology, and it's a good seller, or at least money maker. But you also say that a lot of white people are not as white as they think, and you give the example of someone who did that blood test and realized there was that trace, and then there's that talk about a cursed bloodline. What has been the response or the reception to your work, particularly from white people? A lot of people say, I need to do that blood test and see just how white I am. Are they saying, well, this is not true, this can't be true, this is just, you're just trying to spin things up? What has been the reception?
The reception has been quite positive, and people are now intrigued, because while I was writing the book, there was actually an article in The Guardian where a doctor did say that there are a lot of people who are walking around who are not as white as they think, and they need to do the blood test to see if they do have sickle cell traits. And the end game of this book is the fact that 300 years ago, and that's the other thing that I weaved into the story. 300 years ago, a prince left Ilefe with all the artifacts that the Orishas knew the colonizers were going to come and take. They tasked him with the job of taking it out of Ilefe and keeping it somewhere, and when the time was right, he would bring it back. So, 300 years ago, it's not going to be him that is going to come back. It will definitely be his descendants. So that legacy of blood stayed in that family. The family came back, and the person was as white as you can expect, and the person now met somebody that he wanted to marry, and they realized that they've got sickle cell traits that had been bothering them for the past 300 years, because somebody cursed the family and said that the legacy of blood will never leave you. And in Africa, when we lay curses, the curses are sometimes literal, sometimes not. So people listening to the curse, because that family, all the boys never lived up to the age of 50. They all had a disease that was quite mysterious. And it wasn't mysterious when we go into modern medicine. It was the fact that these people had sickle cell trait. And, for some people with sickle cell trait, it actually presents like sickle cell because they do have crisis as well.
Right. Very interesting. As we wind down, the goal basically is to reclaim our history and mythology. I think it will do well to have that sense of where we're coming from, even if a lot of it is disputed, but still have something we can talk about, something that unites us, and something we're able to tell the world that this is our identity. So in order to maybe move forward with this, it looks like everyone is doing their work here and there. How do we bring all of this together? So it's not like we're working in silos, but we're working together. Where do you think we need to, what frontier do we need to push this to next? Are you looking at having, governments coming together, or still have individuals doing their bits?
I think one thing that we need to do is we focus a lot on science, technology. We also need to focus on the arts. I'm a prime example. I did computer science. Everybody's saying, focus on science, but we need to focus on our arts. Our art is the thing that is going to take us to the future, that is going to be there in 1,000 years to show our great-great-great-great-grandchildren that this is where we come from.
There you go. It'll be good to see movies come out of this. I know we've done a lot of work in that sense, but maybe from your own point of view, it'll be lovely to see that. And it's great to know you're a scriptwriter as well. So is that something we should be looking forward to?
Yes, I have had talks with people about my grandfather's inheritance, and hopefully very soon there will be something on the screen.
I'd love to see that story about someone taking the artifacts and coming back white. That'll be interesting. We'll be speaking with Olani Leigh, who is a writer, best-selling author. We wish you the very best. I think it's great to see works like this, and that's what we wanted to do, spotlight the work you're doing. Thank you for your time, and we wish you the best once again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye.
There you have it. So, you should pick up some of these works and just go through it. It gives you that sense of belonging, that sense of there's something greater at work here.